Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Pockets Full of Soup. I'm your host, Jared Petty. I'm joined today by Jackie Butler.
I know. Hi, guys.
So, Jackie, where do folks know you from?
From Twitter, probably.
Yeah, from
Yeah,
Twitter?
pretty much. Twitter through Fredo's stream.
Fredo? Who's that Fredo?
Alfredo, please.
Alfredo plays.
Yeah,
So
my significant other.
Yeah, your significant other, but you're a streamer, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really busy with school and other stuff, so I've been focusing on that predominantly.
Okay, do you still stream for fun?
Once in a while, but it's mostly playing with him while he's streaming.
Okay, so
It's
you
become
are
that.
often player too?
Yeah.
In these? What are you guys streaming together?
We've been playing Destiny. We've been doing the new raid. We played Rainbow. It's whatever we feel like doing. We were supposed to play WoW together. I was supposed to introduce him into WoW, but I've been just really busy with school.
Really busy with school. What are you going to school for?
So I wanted to do nursing. I wanted to go into the gaming industry for years upon years, but then I decided, as of lately, that I want to start going down the path of nursing instead.
Oh.
And eventually the end game is physician's assistant. So I want to be like pretty much in the surgery room helping the doctor.
Now, that's a very important change in career path. What moved you toward the medical profession?
I mean, I was thinking about becoming a nurse for years when I was in high school, and then I decided against it. My mom kept like pushing me to try to go towards that, and then I was still focused continuously on gaming industry, and I wanted to really pursue that venture, but I didn't want to do that. I decided for nursing because more and more I think about it, I want something that in the long term is extremely fulfilling, and that I want to be able to take care of my parents eventually one day, and I want to be trained in just that field. And I think physician's assistant specifically, I really want to be in the surgeries and like helping the doctor and be hands-on with the medical procedures.
Okay.
More so than just a regular nurse.
And so you decided to approach that this way. You mentioned your parents. Actually, I do want to ask you, is there any connection between your folks and your visit here today?
Actually, I want to talk about my dad.
Okay, well, why don't we get right to that? I'm going to ask that first question that's always the same until I decide to change it. Tell me about somebody you're thankful for.
So, I mean, growing up, my mom actually, her first child was a miscarriage. It was supposed to be a son. Oh. And, so that was rough for them on their relationship and their marriage. And then she went on to have a second son, and then she went on to have a third son. So clearly, the male pretty much predicts the sex because of the sperm. And they just weren't going to have a girl. And my mom really wanted a girl in the family. And since there's already three, it just wasn't going to happen. The statistic is just extremely low after having the third child.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so my mom kept harassing my dad pretty much and saying, hey, we're going to adopt. So they decided to go to Kiev, Ukraine. I was actually the only girl in the entire orphanage.
Okay, wow. Wait a minute. Okay,
know,
so
it's a big jump.
so there's mom and dad, and there's dad, and they want to have a girl, and suddenly they're Ukraine. Let's roll it back a little bit. This is amazing. Okay, All right. So first off, you want to talk about your father. Your father and mother are. Where's your dad from?
Where is he from? He grew up in Philly.
You grew up in Philly, and you met your mom where?
Also in Philly.
Okay, and they got married around when?
I don't know the timeline. My mom tries to not tell me her age because it's the whole woman thing of like,
oh my gosh,
we
really?
don't want to talk about the whole ages because she wants to be younger than she actually looks. You know what I mean?
You don't know how old your mom is?
I don't know the exact age.
That's intriguing.
So I have like a timeline, a general, I think you're around this age, but I'm not exactly sure.
What about your dad?
Same.
You don't know how old either your parents are. That's amazing. Do you know their birthdays?
Yeah, I do. But the thing about it is like, it's never. So I've always been closer to my dad growing up than my mom, actually, and we'll get into that like when we start talking more and more about my dad and me being close, but just.
How do you know how many candles to put on the cake?
Oh, too many.
Too many. You just put too many, and then
they just put normally like one big one or just like a few small ones scattered around. And even then, my dad doesn't really like the whole aspect of birthdays, celebrating birthdays. He's never liked that.
So not a big thing in your family.
Yeah, it isn't. My family is a little bit different.
We recently had. I can't wait to hear more about this. We recently had Marty Sleva visit the show, and we found out he didn't know how old he was for several years.
Really?
Yeah. He just forgot how old he was. Yeah, he lost 2 years of his life.
It's really weird because I was actually thinking the same thing. Like, I'm 23, but sometimes I'm like, am I 24? Am I 25?
You just sit there like, I'm not sure. Just go back and figure it out. That's a lot of stories like that. So your father and your mother met in Philadelphia, got married at some indeterminate time, and then your mother had a miscarriage.
It's a really big deal. I can't even imagine going through that, like carrying someone for a while and then just having it Yeah, I just can't even imagine it. And the stress on the relationship, she was extremely depressed for a period of time, and then they eventually tried again, and the next try was successful, and it was a son.
That's
So,
how was has your father ever talked to you about that period of time after the miscarriage and before the second
actually,
child? What that
no.
was like?
My dad has never. It's very interesting. My mom has been the one to tell me that stuff. My dad doesn't really like to talk about that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a period of his life.
My dad, yeah. I mean, me and my dad, we try to talk about the really positive things. We try not to go into the super, super negative stuff unless it's serious where we have to talk about it. But yeah, he's never talked to me about that time period, but my mom has.
But then they have two sons after the miscarriage.
My two brothers.
Your two older brothers.
Yeah.
What are their names?
Colin and Garner.
Colin and Garner. Ooh, good names. What's your dad's name?
Don.
Don. What's your
and
mom's
my
name?
mom's name's Donna.
Don
and
and
Donna Butler.
Don and Donna Butler of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Did they ever have a discussion where they're like, maybe we shouldn't do this because then we're going to be Don and Donna? Like,
I love it.
I love it too. It's adorable, but
Yeah.
that's like, if you know, it's a dangerous thing. Like, okay, like your boyfriend, his name is Alfredo.
Fredo.
You're Jackie, so you're safe. But if you're like you know, rhyming names, for example, you know, if I don't know now, I can't think of it. But if you're Mackie and Jackie, or if you're,
It's funny you say that because we actually have a follower named Mackie.
Okay.
That is really.
so if you have Mackie and Jackie, exactly, and then suddenly you're just like, can we ever be happy together? I mean, I can never name a child, like if I have a child, I can't name them Patty. You can't have a Patty Petty. You can't have a Betty Petty. That can't.
Oh, I know.
happen.
You have to look at the names, first and last name.
Very important. If you ever have a child, what do you want to name?
I mean, so my real name before adoption was actually Natalia. So if we have a girl, I do want to eventually give that girl the name that I had taken away from me. So.
Natalia. That's extraordinary. What a beautiful name.
It is. It's really pretty.
And speaking of that name, let's go back. So you have two brothers, and your mother and father go, we want to have a girl. And the genetics say that's not going to be possible.
Yeah.
Or it's very unlikely.
Yeah, extremely low.
So your mother originally purchased the idea of adoption, you said?
Yeah, my mom was the one who was all about it. She wanted to adopt. She wanted a girl, and she wasn't going to give that up.
How did your dad feel about that?
So, I mean, he was on board. He eventually was on board. I think it's one of those things where my dad loved having sons.
Okay.
It was one of those things where he was just all about that. And I think that it was more of my mom who wanted a girl, but he was done having kids kind of thing. I think that's what it was. But once she started really talking about it, doing the research, doing the numbers, and like looking up everything, I think he got on board pretty fast.
Okay. So there was no special catalyst that rolled it over. There wasn't like a
It was just my mom pushing hard, saying
like, this is going to happen.
Yeah, she wants a girl.
Okay. And so the answer is to go to Kiev, Ukraine.
Yeah.
All right. Where is this? Where you were born? Were you born in Kiev?
I was, and the orphanage was in Kiev. And
Okay. So let's talk about the orphanage for a moment. How old were you when your parents met you?
I was only a few months old, like 3 months old.
3 months old.
Yeah.
And
I want to show you this baby. That's what I wanted to show you really good. Would you adopt me? Let's be realistic. That's kind of scary. I was not an attractive baby at all. Make sure they see that. Definitely would
we're
not.
definitely. I think we're going to fade this image to the video to make sure. If you're listening on audio, guys, we'll make sure we have this somewhere attached to show notes or something.
I had very big eyes. I look like an alien, like a little alien baby.
You have really large eyes in this photograph. And I mean, you have stunning eyes in adult life, and I like this baby. This baby looks...
It's a very funny photo.
This baby's just kind of like, hey, what's up? There's like something really interesting going on the other side of the camera. So you were 3 months old.
I was the only female in the orphanage.
And you're an orphan. What happened to your mother and your father?
So it was a closed adoption. I'm not exactly sure of everything. And the thing is, I know my mom's first and last name. Her name was Roxana Seiko. But the spelling of Seiko over in Ukraine or in Russia, there's just like 4 or 5 different spellings. I don't even know if I could physically find that person ever if I wanted to find that person. Also, it's closed adoption, so there's nothing. I can't trace it back.
For people who don't know the meaning, what is a closed adoption?
It means that the parents or the person who is carrying the baby, the mom, for example, can choose to surrender the baby up for adoption, and that there's no details to trace back. It's entirely closed, so you can't get in contact with that person again. They're just surrendering you without any details.
Okay, so your mother took you to an orphanage, and you have never known why.
No.
And you've never known who she is.
No.
And you have no memory of her because you were 3 months old when your parents that adopted you and made you a butler came and first met you.
Yeah.
So they came to Ukraine. Does your dad have any anecdotes about that trip? Does he remember it well?
I mean, they were talking about how it was supposed to be a quick process that ended up turning into 3 months.
Okay.
And they were there for a while, and they were eating cans of soup, and there was like only one McDonald's, and it was really far away. They were saying there was like no good food or anything.
So they were in Kiev for 3 months.
Yeah, it was during a bad time in the Soviet Union, when I was adopted, and it was a long process for them to finally close the entire deal, even though they're more than qualified and certified to be parents to adopt.
Yeah.
But it was a long process.
So you were 23 years old. What year was this around then? Because I'm really bad at math. This would be about 1993?
92.
Right? 92. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So right at the transition point, right when the Iron Curtain has gone down and everything is changing very quickly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Goodness. And if you weren't around for that, guys, I'm an old man. I remember it. It was like half the world just suddenly changed real fast in a way that nobody completely understood, and every assumption you had about a good portion of the planet Earth kind of turned on its ear, and life in Ukraine and Russia and the former republics was never the same. So your parents come right around that time. There's a McDonald's. There's cans of soup. Where did you get in the soup?
I don't know. I don't know the details.
You don't know the soup details? You were very small.
I didn't ask details about the food they were eating, I guess.
Well, it's Kiev. I'm just thinking chicken Kiev every day.
One of the things my mom did tell me, she was always saying when she was there, she saw so many beautiful women and my mom was telling me about the beauty of the people, and when they got me, actually, I was naked, wrapped in a blanket.
Really? Okay, so did they meet you and then have to negotiate? Is that how it worked, or do you know?
I actually, it's weird talking about it now, but I probably should. My mom hasn't really. I think it's one of those things where my mom doesn't want to relive it because she wants me to realize that, like, we're your parents now. You know what I mean? We don't want you to think about that as much, but at the same time, me and my mom actually didn't have the best relationship growing up when I had my teen years, so that's probably why I don't know the full-blown details. Okay,
so I'm asking you a lot of details about a time that you obviously can't remember, that you haven't talked to your parents about. So I do want to ask you this: have your mother or father ever expressed to you why it was you?
Well, one of the things I like to think about is they could have decided. So my mom actually talked to me about she was thinking of adopting from an Asian orphanage too. So she was originally looking at Ukraine, and she found out that there was one female. And then on top of that, she wanted to go over there and see me first. But they were also at the point looking at a different orphanage in an entirely different country as well. But I think once they did actually visit and held me for the first time, my mom was settled on it.
Okay. What about your father? Have you ever talked to him about the moment he met you?
Yeah. My dad became a big softie. My dad became a really big softie. We have a special relationship. My dad has always supported me, even when I was in the wrong in teenage years at times. Like, my dad's always rallied behind me, and he's always been very, very supportive in all endeavors. At a young age, I got into video games because of my brothers were playing, and my mom was always like, "Oh, females aren't supposed to do this, and you should." Yeah, I know. The whole gender roles thing, and pretty much, she tried to push Barbies on me, which I did at times like Barbies, but I was really more into like going outside, being active, or playing just different games with my brothers and gamings. And so like at one point, my mom eventually saw that I was getting, I don't know if you've heard of Sarge's Heroes on N64.
I have.
Yeah, and have you heard of the fighting game Dark Rift?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dark Rift, my mom like saw the characters I was playing as and seeing what I was doing, and like even GoldenEye, and she was like, "No, you shouldn't be playing games like this. You shouldn't be doing stuff like this. This is too graphic for your age." And it just isn't.
How old were you at that point?
I don't remember. I was pretty young.
So you've come back home. Let's show, because this is about.
I jumped like an entire.
No, jumping
big
is great actually.
Yeah,
Jumping around is fine because we're telling the story. It doesn't have to be chronological. Yeah, and I think I might have dwelt a little too long in Kiev. So let's pull it back. You're back in the United States. Your name becomes
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline Butler.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the M?
Mary.
Jacqueline Mary Butler. Yep. Did your father name you? Your mother name you? Or
my mom.
Okay.
My mom.
Your mom named you.
Yeah.
So you come back to the States. You come back to Philadelphia?
No, we were living in Cherry Hill.
In Cherry Hill.
New Jersey,
New Jersey. Okay, so you're in New Jersey. And you said at the beginning of the show, this is about talking about why you're thankful for your father. So you've alluded to some of this. Do you want to... Why don't we start with the differences between your mother and your father? You said that growing up as an adolescent, you had some difficulties with your mother, but that your father and you had a special relationship. Let's talk about what defines that special relationship.
So, I mean, my mom and me, we have that connection of like mom and daughter. There's nothing like having a mom and daughter bond. But just when I hit teenage years, I rebelled hardcore. We just didn't see eye to eye. Even before that, it started with video games, and what I wanted to spend my time doing and what she wanted me to do were just different things. And my dad's always been the one to advocate for, if it makes her happy, she should do it. It doesn't matter if there's something like holding her back, or if society says this person shouldn't do that because of a gender, she should be able to do what she wants.
Okay.
And that happened with video games. My mom started trying to step in because she realized I was getting more immersed in it. And just the games that I was playing were more, like, they were older. They were M-rated at times. And
they were violent?
Yeah, they were violent. And she didn't want me. She didn't want me doing that. And my dad
she considered that inappropriate for anybody or inappropriate for a girl?
Well, for her daughter, but also for a girl.
Okay.
We were just fundamentally different people growing up. She was well, I eventually went into cheerleading. We can get into that. But she was into cheerleading, dancing, super into beauty pageants, super feminine.
So she thought at that age that there were things that girls should be interested in and things that boys should be interested in.
Yeah.
But your father differed in that.
Yeah, my dad did entirely. When I was playing video games with my brothers and with him, he was just all about her having fun and trying to get into stuff that she actually likes and finds common interest in. And me and my dad would always play against each other, and like we played Madden, we played Mario Kart. He was super competitive, which pushed me to be even more competitive and want to win because I didn't like to lose, especially against my dad.
Okay, so it's your brothers, your dad, and you all together.
Yeah, all playing video games.
Is the time all four of you guys together, or is it more you and dad time?
It's with all of us, but there's times where we definitely branched off, me and my dad alone together. When we played Sarge's Heroes, we would play multiplayer, like I don't know if you remember the bathtub map. Where
no, I don't remember the map. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So like we would go off and do our own thing. We play Mario Kart against each other. We played Pokemon Snap together. We played a lot of stuff alone.
A lot of games for you and your dad. Was your dad just into video games his whole life, or is this something?
No, I think it came with kids. Actually.
Really? Okay.
It was one of definitely think it came with kids. Yeah.
So let's talk about your dad for a second, as we've kind of gone to the beginning of you, and then we've hopped to adolescence. Let's talk about. No, it's okay. Again, this is how it works. Let's talk about your dad.
Okay.
Let's take you and your brothers out of the picture for a second.
Okay.
When your dad's just off being your dad day to day, what's your dad?
My dad
like?
hates people.
He hates people.
My dad, if he could go live out in the woods alone by himself with peace and quiet, surrounded by books. Do you know that Twilight Zone episode with the guy at the library?
Sure, Burgess Meredith. Yeah, yes, Time Enough at Last.
Another thing, me and my dad, I'm so all over the place.
You're doing great.
Me and my dad loved watching Twilight Zone episodes growing up. We marathon through every single time it would come on. Sci-fi, we'd marathon through those. But my dad is definitely one of those people who he's tired of people. He's tired of people's shit. And
how long has he been tired of people? Was he born tired of people, or has he become that over time?
It's interesting because my mom says he's definitely shifted over time, but as their marriage progressed, he's definitely tired of people.
Okay, what do you think caused that fatigue with people?
I think it's one of those things where just the career he works in the post office. But before that, he tried to start up his own venture, and it actually made him go bankrupt, which is entirely another story. And I think it's one of those things where he's just come across so many people that he just isn't. There's too many times where you have an expectation of how someone's going to be, and then they just let you way down.
Well, let's talk about that venture for a second. How old was that before you met your father? Or?
That was before I met my father.
Okay, so that was before you met your father. But what was his dream? What was his venture?
I think it was like PI. I think he was like investigating.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was very. I just know a very general idea of what this was, but I'm pretty sure it was investigating and like doing criminal investigations.
Getting a PI's license. Did he have a background in law enforcement before that, or what did he?
I'm actually not sure. I think he did.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he did.
So he moved into private investigation, but the business didn't succeed.
Yeah, it didn't. It was rough, and it actually caused him to go bankrupt. And that was one of the really difficult parts of my mom and dad's marriage, to be honest. My mom it's rough. My mom is one of those people who she doesn't let go of things. She holds on to things forever. That's just how her personality is, and she just doesn't let go. And that really messed up their relationship. She just held things over his head.
Okay, so you felt like that. So she was frustrated because that bankruptcy had happened?
Yeah, and then just other things in their marriage. And they're actually going through a divorce right now.
Right now?
Yeah, they're in the process of going divorce. So I've been along with schooling and a bunch of other things, I've been dealing with their emotional side and listening to two sides of a story and finding
You've
out
got
all
a
this
lot
stuff.
going on in your
I
life
have so
right
much
now.
going on right now.
It's
just
goodness, you've got a lot going on.
so much.
Life doesn't let up. So your father's business didn't work out as you'd hoped. He went bankrupt, and he ended up working in a post office. Thankless job.
I mean, it's a job. The thing is, a job is a job. I wish, like, if I was rich, I would honestly just put him in the woods with millions of books and a ton of good food and just...
Is this a fantasy he's expressed, or is this kind of something he pieced together?
Yeah, he is. But I've imagined this through my head as many times as I've heard it. He's like, I'm just going to go off in the woods on my own. Like.
So he's tired of people. Is he tired? Do you ever get the impression he's tired of you?
No.
You guys are okay. Like, so.
Me and my dad, it's crazy. As many times as, like... I know I've disappointed him in the past in high school and stuff like that, but as many times as something might come up or I might contact him because something bad is happening or even just little things, he's always so positive. And it's crazy. He's really all about the law of attraction, and he's just trying to be really, really positive, because I think in the past he just wasn't a positive person, and he's gotten to the point in his life where he realizes the only way he's going to be truly happy is if he continues to be positive and surrounds himself with positive people. And
so he's tired of people, but he's keeping a positive attitude
his small groups of people. So, like, he's really close to my brother. It's weird. My two brothers, it's separate. My one brother is super close to my mom, and my other brother is super close to my dad. So he gains a social, like, he's socially around, like, my brother the most. But around other people, he's very insightful. He's very intelligent, but he only speaks when he really has to speak or he has something profound to say.
Okay.
Other than that, my dad's quiet.
Now you say profundity. Can you think of something profound your father said to you?
I mean, I wish I could have brought in like a million books that he sent me through the mail of all his little teachings that he tries to like cool down my anxiety or my anger, and like I feel like he sees himself through me.
Oh, that's interesting. How so? Yeah. What about you reminds your father of himself?
I mean, I get angry easily. Like, I just get fed up with people really, really easily. And I feel like that's actually changed a lot with me and Alfredo's relationship. I've became way more patient. It's like night and day difference.
That's interesting. Why is that?
It's interesting because he also reminds me of my dad, which is very interesting. He's very calm. He tries to be like really calm and stable. Like when we do actually fight, because no relationship is perfect. Everyone knows that. He's the calm one. I get upset for a little bit, but then he calms me down. And I realize, like, what am I actually getting angry over? There's no reason to fight with this person. I love this person. Like, there's just no reason to fight.
How does your father handle anger?
So growing up, he wasn't the best. My dad got really angry around my mom. And there was a lot of times where he'd just storm off. It was one of those kind of things. But I mean, towards the end, when I was still living at home, it got to the point where he just stayed more quiet. He became like more and more quiet, which I tend to do. When I get upset, I don't start screaming. I just get really quiet.
So it sounds like there was a lot of tension there for a long time.
There was. One of the biggest things that I do applaud my parents for is the fact that they stayed together while we were growing up, while we were kids. I was allowed to have a nuclear family. I got a mom and a dad for the longest time, and they waited until we were grown up enough for us to physically like go out on our own and pursue our own stuff before they got divorced. And a lot of people don't do that. They don't want to sacrifice their happiness just because kids are involved.
I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to ask you something about that. I obviously that's a complex situation around divorced family, nuclear family. There's so much there, but I want to focus it in on you and your particular situation for a moment. You were adopted in Kiev when you were 3 months old. You don't know who your biological mother was. You don't know how she spelled her name or why you were there. These people came over from America, brought you home, and for your life, they have been your family. They are your family. What point in your life did it click that it could have been different for you? That if these people hadn't come along, that you would not necessarily have that nuclear family. What was it like growing up and having that switch flip? Can you describe that experience?
I mean, it's interesting because my mom and my dad sat me down before the time. They waited till I had some common sense, but wasn't fully there to the point where I would hate them, if that makes sense. Yeah, so, I mean, when they were telling me, they told me the whole story of my adoption, and I was sitting in my mom's bedroom, my dad and my mom were next to me. My mom was getting really nervous that I was going to start being really upset, but I actually took it really well. I was like, like,
okay, how old were you? Do you remember?
I was really young, but I was to the point where I had enough common sense. I forget the exact
But
age.
so you comprehended.
I comprehended that I wasn't their blood.
Yeah.
I was
right.
adopted. I was brought over from another country.
But your response was kind of like, hey, cool.
Yeah, I wasn't upset by it. It didn't really take me back. It's kind of weird. My reaction was just like normal.
That's not weird at all.
I mean,
that's just what you did. No, I don't think that's weird. That was just your particular reaction. You don't need to be disparaging about the fact that you were cool with it. You and your father, you talked a lot about playing games together.
Yeah.
You've talked about the fact that you have some similarities in temper, how you deal with, again, other people's crap, I guess would be a way to put it.
Yeah, another thing that I want to make point on is going back to the whole gender roles thing. My first CD I ever bought, my dad took me to a Barnes Noble, and it was actually a Rob Zombie CD. My first CD I ever picked out, and this was me on the playground in fourth or fifth grade, literally with my green little with my CD player.
Yeah.
It was Apple Sparkly Green, listening to Rob Zombie, Dragula, the song Dragula, Living Dead Girl, and in 4th or 5th grade. And
the first CD you ever bought had Dragula.
It's really crazy if you really think about it.
No, I did the first CD I ever bought for myself. The first music I ever bought for myself, I will never stop being embarrassed by this, was the single of Meatloaf's Anything for Love.
Really?
That was the first thing the first CD was the Eagles' Hell Froze Over. I don't know. Our musical tastes grow. And I think
but
Rob
I still
Zombie.
love Rob Zombie.
I actually kind of really love Rob Zombie. He's great.
It's weird. I walked around Barnes and Noble listening to the music, putting it on, and I came to his CD, and his CD was just really dark, horror looking image, and I put it on. I was like, this sounds great.
Okay, so first off, Rob Zombie again. Did you see the Baby Metal thing recently?
I didn't.
Oh my gosh, he was touring with Baby Metal for a while.
Yeah.
And some people were being mean to him on Twitter, and Rob Zombie just turns into the kindliest old grandpa. He's like, they're just a bunch of nice girls trying to make some great music, and you need to shut up. It's just
apparently he's a really, really nice, laid back, relaxed guy.
That's what I hear. He seemed great.
Yeah.
But second, this trip to Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
Did you go there? Was your dad like, today you shall buy music, or were you like, Dad, I want to go buy some music, or were you just browsing? And you're like, you saw this awesome cover.
So growing up, every Wednesday night, my dad would actually take us out to family dinners, but my mom actually never came with us. It was one of those things where it was just me, my dad, and my brothers, and we'd go to some restaurant, we'd eat together, we'd sit down at a family dinner, pretty much, and then we'd go do something small afterwards. And I always I love books. Let's go buy books. So my dad took me to Barnes Noble, and then I hadn't really ventured into the music section, but my brothers, who are older than me, did, and I was like, I want to start listening to music.
Okay, and so
really listening to
how
music.
How old were you, you think?
I was really young.
4th grade, you said? Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you find Rob Zombie.
I want my first CD. So my dad's like, okay, you can pick one. So I looked around.
And your dad was cool with that. He's just like,
you know what's the worst part? I think it was between a Nal CD. You know those generic Nal CDs?
Oh, now that's what I call music?
Yeah, it was between that and then Rob Zombie. And I was like, nope, Rob Zombie.
I think you won. Did your dad approve? Was he like...
He did. He's like, are you sure that's what you want? And I'm like, yeah, Dad. And he's like, okay.
Did he listen to your music? Did he try it afterwards?
My dad's definitely heard it. I blasted it. And my dad definitely knows what it is.
Is he a music guy?
Yeah, but he listens to entirely different. He listens to more of jazz, and it's a complete opposite.
Very different world.
Yeah.
Is there a nexus where you and your dad's music meet? Is there something you both love to listen to?
No.
Okay.
No. There's not.
What about you mentioned books? You just said I love books. See, I want to go to Barnes and Noble. I love books. Your dad loves books.
Oh yeah.
You keep hitting similarities here: games and books, and your attitude toward other people, and your anger. Where do you and your dad meet on books?
But my dad reads a lot of philosophy books.
Oh, okay.
We don't meet in that, but he likes a lot of sci-fi. So one of the things that stuck out to me a lot was he used to read. Do you know Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
I do.
So he used to have a reoccurring. I know I'm going all over the place in this. He used to have a reoccurring dream of that just taking place, and just deja vu dreams of that. And the more he told me these stories about his dreams and the stuff that he was reading, which they influence, the stuff that you read influences your mind and your thought and what you actually dream about. And so I was like, I want to read more sci-fi stuff. But even before then, I was at that time period, I was playing PC games like MapleStory, and I was playing World of Warcraft, and that stuff helped me with liking that genre of stuff. Yeah. But I mean, that's where we connect on that level. I like some of the philosophy books he sends me. I try to read it to him because he tries to incentivize me through reading, like with notes, and sometimes he'll slip like money into the book at the end of the book.
He bribes you to read.
Yeah, I know. He like he bribes me what he wants to influence on me and what I should take away from the book. So he'll hide it like the end of the book and be like, see if you read it or not, kind of thing. And like when we do talk, but he's very, very spiritual now. He's changed a lot. His anger has definitely gone way down. He's grown a lot, and I respect that. I respect from what I saw growing up, which wasn't the best environment for kids with them fighting, and sticking it out, actually working it out, and then to the point where he is at now, even going through a divorce, he has nothing bad to say about my mom. Like he just doesn't, and I think he realizes that yes, some of it was his fault. They're both at fault, but my dad just become a way more peaceful person throughout it all, and I respect that.
What drives you nuts about your dad?
What drives... my dad is... One of the reasons why my dad and my mom didn't work out is he's very secretive. I think one of the things is that like it's hard for him to open up. He was never honest about his feelings growing up. He was very, very closed off. I feel like what I did actually see from him outside of them fighting was just really, really positive. I never really got to talk to my dad one-on-one about what he is experiencing and what emotion. He just never really talked about his emotions at all.
Okay. So and that closed offness was difficult for you?
Yeah.
Did you ever ask him about that growing up?
I mean, it was one of those things where like he had so much on his plate where I didn't want to stress him out even more. He was already super busy with work. He was having a rough time with his marriage, and it's one of those things where for me, I didn't want to bring his day down even more and make it more negative than it needed to be. So I was always trying to be a positive influence on him.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
What about, is there ever a moment you could think of where you made your dad cry?
Where I made my dad cry?
Yeah.
I feel like that happens often. I mean,
oh, really?
Yeah, I think one of the hardest times growing up where, I mean, one of the times where he's been super supportive is when I was in high school, when I got to the point of where I was getting, like, I just stopped caring altogether about high school. Because of like the stuff that was going on at home and whatnot. And I tried really hard. I was like, the one redeeming thing right now that is going to save me in any way, shape, or form is if I make the cheerleading team. I know that logic makes no sense, but it was because of one of my close friends was super like into cheerleading, and that's where I would be spending most of my time with this girl, and her and me really, really connected. And my mom after I went through a grueling, like just the freaking worst experience going through tryouts, and it was like over 200 girls and only like 10, I think it was like 20 girls got picked, or no, it was like 30 girls got picked. It was pretty bad, and it was just like really, really hardcore every day for a week of just doing stuff. My mom just came in and just after I got it accepted, when we were in our first meeting in front of 30 cheerleaders plus their moms plus our coaches, literally embarrassed me in front of an entire goddamn room of people.
What did she say?
She got embarrassed over money. I know it all comes back to money, but like she was upset because she didn't want to pay like so much money for tumbling classes and for the uniform, and our school was considered one of the best cheerleading teams in the district and in New Jersey at the time for competitive cheerleading, and it was just a lot. The funds really added up, and at that point, me and my mom weren't on the best relationship as is, so she kind of just had like a mental breakdown in front of like 30 girls. She started like yelling at my cheerleading coach and saying like, you shouldn't be forcing families to like pay this much money. It was just a really traumatizing experience. And then she ended up storming out of the room. So I'm just sitting here.
And you were still sitting?
I was still sitting. And like, I just felt mortified.
Do you think your mother was like, obviously you said there was some frustration with you because you had done some things in high school. At that point you'd been disinterested.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was her frustration about the stress at home? Was her
frustration
about you?
Frustration at home. I think it was the fact that I wasn't applying myself to the full capability, and because I didn't care about school. I think it was because of her and me weren't on the best relationship. I think it was also another spiteful thing that I was connecting more with my father and not her. I wasn't talking to her. We would go literally months walking around the house, not talking to each other at all. It was bad. It was really bad.
She
took it out on it's one thing that made me happy. Something that she knew that I went through, like, yeah.
Have you and your mother ever discussed that since?
I never want to talk to her about that again.
Have you and your father talked about it?
This whole story goes back to my dad. My dad was extremely comforting, and he just kept telling me, that's your mother, that's her personality. Like, you're not going to change someone. once someone hits like a certain age, they're not going to change once their brain is fully developed. Like, it's just not. That's their decision making. It's not going to happen. So, I mean, like I said, there's been so many moments where my dad, regardless of anything that I've done, he's been there.
Did that comfort you, what he said?
It did. It helped me a lot. And my dad, regardless of what I want to do, whether it be the gaming industry or nursing or anything, like, my dad's always been there.
Yeah, he's there now. He's encouraging of you moving into this career then?
Yeah, he is. He's really proud of me. I mean, like I said, I didn't apply myself properly in high school. I was too caught up in family issues, and I just wasn't happy. I wasn't. And so moving forward, now that I'm back in school, I was doing school for about a year and a half ago, give or take, and I'm just doing exceptionally well. It wasn't ever the fact that I wasn't intelligent enough. It wasn't ever the fact that I didn't have the capability to do it. It was I wasn't applying myself. I wasn't mentally in the right state of applying myself.
Yeah. There's no question you're smart. I don't think that you lack the ability at all. I don't think anybody that's listening to this is going to think that. Did you finish high school?
I did.
Yeah,
I did finish.
I did. While you were, I want to go back for a second. I don't want to put you through too much pain here, but I do want to ask. There's one more question related to this that I have for you. You said you were off the rails in high school. You weren't talking to your mom at home. You said you got it into your head that cheerleading was going to be the fix.
Yeah.
It mattered to your mother. It mattered to your friends. It came to matter to you. You made it. The moment was, you used the word traumatically, robbed of its sweetness. After that, Jackie, in the long term, your father came to you and explained what had happened as best he could. You said you appreciated it. Did it change anything for you after? Did when you did you find joy in it after, or was that taken from you by it?
So with the whole cheerleading experience, like, I was playing video games at the time as well online, and I had like my online friends. So I had that group of friends, but I didn't have anything tangible in person where I was really connecting to. I had like my small close-knit group of friends, like my guy friends who I also play World of Warcraft too. But this one girl, she meant the world to me. So cheerleading and the fact that we would be like with each other way more often, that was like, I knew that was going to make me way more happy.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was actually stripped away from me, like after my mom knew everything that I had been, like, I went through just to actually like get to the tryout point and succeed. She knew how important it was to me. Like, I did cheerleading when I was in middle school, and she saw how happy I was then. And then I took a huge gap break. And when that was stripped away, like, I lost all. That was really bad. Like, me and my mom were on terrible terms, even worse terms after that. And it just, my dad, like I said, my dad, regardless of what I do in life, he's always cheering for me.
So let's talk about your dad's constant support for a minute. You said he still sends you books with little notes in them.
He does.
Do you remember the last little note you got?
Well, we were actually on the phone the other day, and he was pretty much saying that, like, I'm gonna have a whole pop quiz after this next time we talk. And I mean, he just writes little things, and he tries to. One of the things that I want you guys to realize about my dad is that what we didn't touch base on is one of the biggest things in high school. My dad didn't have money. My dad went bankrupt, and my mom and my dad were at the point where they weren't helping each other out financially. They had separate bank accounts. My mom was at the point where she just didn't want anything to do with him, kind of thing. And me and my mom weren't on good terms as well. And even though I was adopted into a lower middle class family, it wasn't like that. It actually wasn't like that at all. The money was super managed. The money was going to my mom's biological sons. My brother was an AP student, so all the funding was going towards his schooling and just everything to do with him. And so I was literally walking miles upon miles through snow, through rain, because they didn't have the money to buy me a car, and I wanted to work. I was working at GameStop at the time.
Okay.
And I would literally just walk like miles at night for hours just to go to like a minimum paying job. It was like $7 when I started out. And my dad, anytime he would try to even buy me little things, like even like, I know this is really silly, like sandwiches from 7-Eleven or not 7-Eleven, I forget what the heck the convenience store is now. I would always tell him no because I knew that my dad had no money. And it's one of those things where even though I was working, I was spending it on things that I needed or I thought I needed, like makeup, you know what I mean? Like little essential things. Or like for me, I needed.
Have you told him what this meant to you?
No.
No? You gonna tell him?
I mean, he knows. I think he knows when every time I told him, like, I don't want his money, you know.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good dad.
He is. And like I said, even when things happen in my life and I know he has no money and he's going through the divorce, so he came into a little bit of money just recently, he would always try to like do whatever he could in his power to find money, to like pull resources together and just to make it so that I could fulfill my dream. Like in the gaming industry, when I wanted to go to like a gaming event, he had no money, but he pulled money together through selling stuff and whatnot to get me a plane ticket. Like, he's always putting himself second when it comes to me.
You're first for him.
Yeah.
This is a very personal question, but I do want to ask it. I see in your story you've told today a kind of a dichotomy in the arc. Your mother really wanted a daughter. Mm-hmm. Pushed very hard to have one at the time. From what you understand, your father, he wasn't even particularly interested. They traveled to Ukraine, found you. Your father turned into a softie.
He did.
Your mother, who desperately wanted a daughter, you and her's relationship, you've described many times as strained. Mm-hmm. Your father, who wasn't particularly interested in the beginning in, as you've described it, and having you, has become your closest confidant and provider. Yeah. Mm. What does that dichotomy mean in your heart? What does that mean inside of you?
I mean, it's interesting because that did happen growing up, but it's not like there wasn't times where my mom didn't rally for me. I want to speak of one time that's kind of a big deal because of when you have a family that has kids and then you bring an adoptive kid into it, there's obviously going to be tension at some point. If the kid is getting more attention or if they're getting away with stuff or just anything is happening. There was a time, I love my brother now, but I will never forget these words that were said to me. When him and me were in a fight one time, he looked at me and he said in front of my mom, which my mom instantly like shunned him and yelled at him. He's like, "You're not a part of this family. You were just bought." Yeah. And so that was the moment where my mom actually stepped in and was like, "Hey, like that's really messed up. You can't say stuff like that." You know, and I had times like throughout my childhood, that was on the younger end when I was still on okay terms with her, but there's been times where she has stepped out and stood up for me, but definitely not anywhere near as much as my dad has.
Yeah, your father's been your consistent comment. Still, that's an amazing, I can't even imagine that. I have no context for what it would be like to be told what you were told there. Mm-hmm. Thank you for being willing to tell these stories. I know they're not easy.
I've never actually gotten to talk about these, like, I've never actually gotten to tell people about these stories, and it's just stuff that's been sitting in my mind, and I haven't actually gotten to be voiceful about it for a while. And it's like, it's one of those things with my dad. I love my dad, and I don't think he'll ever actually understand how much I actually love him, you know.
You going to send him this?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. Well, I appreciate you sharing it with me. I appreciate you sharing it with an audience of strangers.
I get to share it with you, yeah.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. We got good fans. They're nice people. I think your story will be received with warmth and grace. And it's a heck of a tale. What's your dad up to now?
They just moved. They sold the old childhood home just recently, and they split the funds, and then they're going through the paperwork, I think, for filing for divorce, and they're going through that. And
so he's still in New Jersey?
Yeah, they're both still in New Jersey. I really want them to move. Talking about going back to my mom thing, me and my mom are actually on ridiculously good terms now.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Me and my mom, every time we actually do talk, when I moved out from home, our relationship improved. It was one of those things where, like, we were just two big personalities and we just butted heads too much and we were both stubborn. And it was one of those things where it's like, I didn't want to be disrespected. She didn't want to be disrespected. But at the same time, I get it, you're a parent, but I still don't want to be disrespected growing up. Okay. And the second that I moved out, our phone calls, like, we never talked for years. Now our phone calls are literally 2 hours long.
So you've warmed toward one another? Really? Okay,
yeah, we're like on really good terms now. Like,
that's great.
That's one of the reasons why I want to go into nursing. Like, although me and my mom had that huge gap of time where we weren't on good terms, I want to take care of her. Like, and I do. I know she's getting older, you know.
You don't know how old she is. She won't tell you. But you know. So you're going to nursing
so
you can help take care of your folks.
And then also give back. Well, there's a lot of components to it, but yeah.
So it's I wish you the best in that, and I wish the best future for all your family wherever they are. And I thank you for sharing this with us. It's a great story.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Now we're gonna transition into the second part of the show, which is the lightning round, instant noodles. But before we do that, we got a few thank yous to do here. Okay. First, I want to thank our Patreon producers, Robert Nieder and Xavier Saint-Amand-Tremblay, whose continued support allows this show to happen. Thank you guys so much. Also to all our Patreon supporters. You can support this show on patreon.com/Jared Petty, and a lot of people do. And that keeps the lights on and makes things happy and joyful and changes my life every week. So thank all of you for doing that. Also, a pitch out here to the Pockets Full of Soup Facebook group, which is a wonderful community of people that more and more things are happening in. And anyway, thanks to everybody who subscribes, watches, listens, reviews, or just enjoys this on their commute every day. If you're sitting in your car or on the train, or you're at work right now on third shift, or wherever you are listening or watching, you're appreciated. I'll never have a chance to meet all of you, but all of you I've met have meant a lot to me. So thank you. Now, speaking of thank yous, our community always has a few thank yous they want to give, and I'm going to read a couple of these right now. Alan says, I'm thankful for my friends Derek and Kurt. We're playing Risk right now and having a blast.
Risk is so much fun.
Yeah, you like Risk?
Yeah, my brothers and we played the board game growing up.
No kidding. Are you any good at it?
No.
No, please go ahead. Not good? No.
But that was one of the games that we tried to play. There's a lot.
Are you one of those jerks who just sits in Australia with all your men on that one island and builds and builds and builds? Okay,
that's one of my brothers, though.
Oh, there's always that guy. Ben Ekman, wherever you are. This guy from college who would always do that. Lucas says, thanks to my wife for being amazing and always supportive, even though I'm an overgrown child. So I like that one. Neko says, I'm eternally grateful to my mother, Maria, who's the strongest person I know and continues to help me immeasurably daily. So there's that. Now, a couple of questions here for you, Jackie. First, Zyger, also known as Jonathan, says, I'm supposed to ask you what the name of that one Italian place was we all went to PSX last year for lunch.
I have no idea what the name of that is, actually. What is it? Buca de Beppo?
Oh, Buca de Beppo. Buca de Beppo. It's a chain. Yeah, it's a kind of a chintzy Italian chain. Yeah, okay.
It was really good. Hi, Zyger.
All right, so Zyger says hi. That was Fredo off camera giving the answer there. Let's see. How do you balance your love and relationship needs versus your streaming and gaming obligations?
So, I mean, my sleeping schedule has definitely taken a hit. I feel like I get a lot less sleep in this relationship, but it's entirely worth it. Like when I'm not doing homework, when he's not streaming, we're spending all our time together. We're watching movies we love. We're cuddling. We're going out. We make time.
What's the last sweet thing you and Fredo did together?
The last sweet thing that me and Fredo, last night was sweet.
What was sweet? What happened?
It was directly after we had dinner. We just cuddle and we spend time and we talk in bed. Like, it's little things. So you can literally just talk in a bed and, like, look in each other's eyes.
Are you a big spoon or a little spoon?
I'm both.
Oh,
I like to be both.
All right. So you're
I like to be the big spoon a lot, too.
So you're a cuddling spork, just whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You're diverse. All right.
Yep.
Oh, here's another one. Jesse wants to know, what's your favorite thing to do on date night?
My favorite thing to do on date night? I really enjoy just doing casual dinners or just like dinners and talking. I think one of the biggest things is not enough couples put down their technology while they're out and doing that. And when we do have dinner and when we do go out to eat, we put our technology down and we just focus on each other and actually talk to each other. And
phones away, phones down, screens off. It's you and Fredo.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a really big deal, especially when we are so immersed in social media and video games and just everything that we step away from technology from time to time. What's
the last sweet or romantic surprise you did for Fredo?
The last one I did, I like to post really, like, cheesy, I don't know if they're cheesy, but really romantic. Like, the photo I posted when we went out to lunch the other day, like, I like to scream on social media how much I adore him, because I do, you know what I mean? I think that's actually a big deal, like, in a relationship, when you're comfortable enough to actually express your relationship on such an open platform like Twitter. Why not?
You're, like, shouting it. So that's interesting. In the quiet moments together, screens off. But when it comes to talking about how much you care about him, shout it to thousands of people.
I could say a million things about him.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I'm super
say
proud.
one thing. Say one thing right now. You can say a million
I'm
things.
ridiculously proud of him, like all of his endeavors that he does do. I'm so grateful for how even after like over a year and like I forget how many months we've been together, like every single night he rubs my back. He does little things, like it hasn't stopped. I feel like physically and romantically we're just on a whole nother level. Like I have never been so physically attracted to someone in my entire life. Like it's a really big deal.
Is it the hair or the ears?
It's his voice.
It's the voice. He's like, hey. He's like,
I really like his voice a lot.
I'm shockingly masculine. How did you two lovebirds meet? That's
so
Jenna
we were friends for a while. And then we just talked more and more, and we played video games together, and it got to the point where we eventually watched Netflix together, which is kind of a big deal. Like, I mean, we watched Daredevil together, and that was spending a lot of time together. And then we eventually met in person, and it was just perfect. For me, it was perfect.
So you were friends, but you were friends over distance. You hadn't actually met face to face.
Yeah, and then we eventually met. And honestly, like, the first time I met him, I was just swooning. I still swoon when I look at you. You know?
Did he swoon when he looked at you?
I hope so. No, yeah. Yeah, okay.
So,
no, it's like I'm judging your answer right now.
No comments from the peanut gallery back there behind the camera. All right, let's jump into instant noodles real quick.
Okay.
You ready? Here we go.
Boy.
Lightning round. First off, what is best sandwich?
Oh, God. Turkey sandwich?
Turkey sandwich.
Yeah.
Anything special about it or just turkey sandwich?
It has to have provolone cheese. It has to have mustard on it.
Turkey, provolone, mustard.
Yeah.
What kind of bread?
Wheat.
All right.
I like wheat.
What's the best song written in the last 100 years?
Oh, God. I don't know. There's too many good ones.
Throw one out there. Gotta give the people what they need.
I don't know.
I'm
obsessed with Lady Gaga's new song, if that makes any sense.
Which
Perfect
one?
Illusion.
Is it the best song written in the last 100 years?
No, but it's amazing, so you should check it out.
So we'll take that. All
There's
right.
the Lady
Perfect
Gaga plug.
What's the first word you think of when you hear the sound of your own voice?
I don't know, manly? Is it kind of manly?
Manly? That's the first word you think? You think you have a manly voice?
I don't know. It's not super feminine, right?
Why do you keep looking at him?
Because he's judgy right now. He's like, "What the fuck?"
Fredo, go in the corner.
He's like, "Why the fuck did you just say that?"
You're disturbing the lightning round. All right, let's see. Which favorite flavor ice cream?
Mint chocolate chip.
Ooh, good
Love
choice.
it. Yeah.
Good choice. That's right up. Ooh, so good. If you could travel through time and meet any one person, who would you visit?
Oh my God, that's so difficult too.
Yep. Who's it going to be? Just one
I don't
person.
know. Hitler to stop him?
Hitler to stop him? Like you travel back in time and stop Hitler?
Yeah.
How would you stop him? Would you lock him up?
I would assassinate him.
You would?
I would.
Yeah, take him out?
With a sniper rifle.
Really? Are you a good shot?
I wish I was a Russian assassin.
Where does
My name is Natalia.
Do you just watch Enemy at the Gates over and over and over again, or have you seen that?
I haven't.
That's a movie all about Russian snipers.
Oh, really?
You should totally watch that. Yeah, it's actually not a great movie, but it's all about Russian snipers.
I really want to go to a gun range anytime soon and like learn how to shoot a sniper rifle. We should go. Let's go, Jared.
We can go to a gun range. There's a gun range near my house. Actually, we could do that. I left all my firearms in Kentucky, but they have guns you can rent. I hear. So.
I've only shot a pistol and a shotgun, but I really want to shoot a sniper rifle.
A rifle is an interesting weapon to fire. It'll
a lot of kickback.
More than you'd expect, especially with you're talking about a sniper rifle. Absolutely,
Yeah.
It has a high caliber cartridge and a lot of kick, and getting used to the scope because you're afraid it's going to hit you in the eye at first.
Oh my God!
Until you get used to it, because the scope
it
kicks
comes
back.
Yeah.
When the gun fires, and if you don't cradle it right, you will hit yourself in the eye. So you gotta learn that. Start with a light rifle. Start with a 22, and get comfortable shouldering it, and then you switch up to a heavier one. And you can.
When I shot a shotgun, the kickback on that was horrible. It was bad.
Well, probably for you, maybe you could start with something like even maybe a 22 Hornet, which is a high powered, like it's a much more powerful 22 round, and then build up to that. But anyway, that's a strange thing. But yes, we should do that sometime. We'll go target shooting sometime. What's the most terrifying creature in the natural world?
I mean, I'm not really. I feel like I can't. That's hard. I don't like spiders, really. Spiders are annoying.
Spiders are a very popular choice is the answer to that question. Yeah, you get spiders more than anything else. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite word?
Oh, God. I don't know. I like to say woo a lot.
Woo. Okay, that's your favorite word? Woo. Okay.
Well, I say that a lot when I'm streaming with him when I do something good. I'm just like, woo.
Where's that come from?
I don't know. I just started doing it.
Who was your first kiss?
Who was my first kiss? This kid named Christian.
Yeah? How was it?
We were really young. It was basic.
It was basic.
It was very basic.
Cake or pie?
Pumpkin pie.
Ooh,
Let's be specific.
Very specific.
Love pumpkin pie. Obsessed.
You like nutmeg, do you?
I love pumpkin.
Yeah, but pumpkin pie is good.
It's very good.
Garrison Keeler says that pumpkin pie is just an excuse to eat nutmeg, but I'm okay with that. Like the flavor is just delightful. It's, I love pumpkin.
Do you like sweet potato pie though?
Very much.
I don't for some reason. I can't get past the difference in taste between because I'm obsessed with pumpkin.
Oh, they're very different.
Sweet,
No,
yeah,
they're very different.
Yeah, I just can't do sweet potato pie.
No, there's a lot of I've met pies I don't like, but sweet potato pie I like. But yeah, pumpkin pie is just delightful, especially a really good pumpkin pie. Just like, oh, that's some yum, 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 yum. And last one, what's one question you have for me?
What is the craziest thing that you haven't gotten to experience in life yet that you want to experience?
I want to go to space. It'll almost, it's not going to happen, but that's easy. I would be willing to die in space, knowing that I was going to die if it meant I could go to space. Like, if I could go on a rocket launch and I could go to space and I could look down on the Earth for 10 minutes, that would be worth dying. Like, I that's fine. I want to do that. It's the wonder of transcending this planet, which is Earth has been kind to us and kind to me, but the chance to step beyond the boundaries of what's possible and see, it would change your context. I feel like to step outside just for a moment. You could never think about things the same way again. I want to have my mind opened like that, even, and of course I prefer to live, but I want to have my mind open like that and come home and be a person that's seen Earth from space and seen the stars from somewhere besides Earth and be changed by that. But if it required not being around anymore, I would totally make that trade.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be the dream. So thanks for asking.
Remember when we first talked, when I first met you, we talked about EVE Online?
I do remember that.
I feel like I remember like when I met you, so I remember every moment of it because of you. You're just so different. Like, I feel like if I were to work at IGN, I would literally want to shadow under you. Like that.
You're so sweet. That's a kind thing to say. I had a great conversation. We talked for like an hour.
I know. We talked for a really long time.
Yeah, and we just sat down at that table in the back. It was at the IGN house party.
Yeah.
And we were there early for the show, and that was a great conversation. I really liked you, Jackie, a lot. But that was such a nice thing to say. Thank you. Well, guys, thank you for watching and listening to Jackie M. Butler.
Thanks for having me.
Where can they find you?
At Jackie M. Butler. On Twitter.
They're on Twitter, and that's kind of your domain, right?
Yeah, on everything.
That's where you do things. So,
yep.
Anything they should be looking forward to?
No, not really.
You don't know when this is going up. Yeah, okay.
I don't know when this is going up. So.
All right, great. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you follow Jackie, keep up with what she's up to, and until next time, bye-bye.